And welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who was higher on J.J. McCarthy than Bo Nix out of college. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I was higher on J.J. McCarthy. I still might be. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and fair to think the NFL was. The Vikings were. They drafted him.
Yeah.
We'll talk about him and the excitement there. Obviously, Bo Nix had a good rookie season. Kyle, I'm excited to talk about this this division. This is maybe the most exciting division to talk about. We have three teams coming off of playoff berths, albeit three teams that went one and done once they got there. Also, the Bears, who didn't make the playoffs but are a very fascinating team in their own right. This is maybe the most exciting division to talk about.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I mean, you could argue the Bears had the most off-season improvement. Will it translate to on the field? But on paper, you could argue they won the off-season. And you have three really good teams right in front of them. So this is the one I had ranked the best division in football. I think all four of these teams are absolutely playoff contenders, if not contenders to win the NFC. As much as, difficult as that sounds for some more than others, I think this is a loaded division. I think all of these teams could be really successful next season.
Kyle, if you want to know how long it's been since football season has gone on, I noticed there's a literal spider web growing on my computer. So that's what we that's how long it's been. Although I still use my computer, but this is very exciting, Kyle. Let's see what I want to. I feel like I had so much to get into and have lost all of it. I don't know. Do you want us to get into the rankings?
Yeah, we can dive right in. Why not? So let's get into the NFC North.
I remember what I was going to say. Let's talk about the scheduling stuff real quick. That's what it was. Coming up, just so everyone knows, Kyle's going to be traveling this next month, so we're going to have a bit of a unusual schedule for next few weeks. We will. I'll put the schedule on a community poll or community notes tab just so you can check that out. But essentially, next week we'll be doing Monday, right, 6 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we're going to skip the following week, and then we'll be back on the 22nd Friday. That all works for you?
Yep, that all works for me.
Cool. Okay, and then we'll be back to regular Wednesday every week. So yeah, bit unusual. Just be on the lookout for that. Again, I'll put a community notes tab for that. But yeah, Kyle. Okay, all that out of the way. Let's get into the division. Again, the Bears were the only team to miss the playoffs last year. Do you have them finishing fourth again this year?
I do. I had the Bears currently fourth, and granted, like I said, I think all of these teams have a case of trying to making the playoffs this year. So, I don't want to. It shouldn't come off as disrespectful because I think all of these teams have a chance. However, I think the thing with the Bears is it's still in theory to me. Everything about the Bears is still a little bit hypothetical. We need to see Caleb Williams play a little bit better and a little bit much more consistent. He still had the highs and the lows, but there was way too many lows and not enough highs. They revamped everything around him. This is one of the best offensive lines in football. All of a sudden, they have a young up-and-coming coaching staff that everyone's really excited about. This defense still should be really good, and there's plenty of talent on this team to be successful. But it all comes down to Caleb Williams. None of this matters if Caleb Williams isn't good day one, and they need him to be. And if it is, then this is a Super Bowl. If he is what he was tipped to be as a prospect, how a lot of people like myself viewed him, this could be even a Super Bowl contender this season, but we need to see all that kind of come together before we can get excited.
Sure. I mean, the potential with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams is through the roof. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
These are two guys who, again, Caleb, like you said, Caleb Williams, obviously the generational prospect, all that. The potential with him, Ben Johnson, we've seen what he can do with the Detroit Lions and how they were able to have so much success offensively. And again, you could say, well, look at the personnel, but the personnel didn't change that much from when he got there to the year prior, but the overall offensive output changed massively when he got there. So definitely, we know he can do X's and O's, but of course, there's the question of all the other stuff when it comes to coaching. As of right now, I'm going to go with tier 3 coaching and tier 4 quarterback play. But again, that could be wildly higher if these guys can reach their potential.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's tier one ceilings for both of these
Yeah.
guys for sure. So that's what we're looking at with this head coach and quarterback candidacy. The Ben Johnson was tipped to be a head coach for a few years now. He waited, he was patient, and he decided this is the job he wanted because he wanted to stay on the roster building and he wanted to say on which quarterback he was going to coach. I think those are both really important things to him. And you saw it. I mean,
the dollar amount helped too, probably.
yeah, getting paid. I mean, he was going to get paid by whoever hired him this offseason. So
sure,
I don't think he's
got more than your average new head coach does.
Exactly. So like, I think, and you saw the statement of intent by the Bears this offseason by basically as soon as they hired him, what they did to bring in talent to this team. So it's exciting. I think everyone's excited for what this team could look like in theory, but it's still just very much in theory. So we're going to see how it looks. But Ben Johnson, at a minimum, you think you should have a better offense next season, and that might just be enough for the Bears. If they just have a better offense this season compared to last season, they could win 8-9 games, even more, in even 10 or 11 games. So that could go just a long way on its own, and then the rest of it, we'll see how he manages.
Obviously, a huge part of this team is the new interior offensive line. You have, Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright have been a good tackle tandem for them. The question is, the interior just wasn't very good last year. They've replaced all three guys. You have Jonah Jackson, which is a bit of a wild card coming off of the Rams, but then Drew Dahlman, really good center for the Falcons when he's been healthy. Joe Thuney, who can play left tackle if you need him to do that, also is was an all-pro guard last year with the Kansas City Chiefs, and they were able to get him, which was kind of a big move. Again, I'm going to go tier 2, and the biggest thing is there's a little question marks with Jonah Jackson, although he has played well in the past, and you just have, guys who haven't played together. The only two guys who have played together are the tackles, who couldn't be further away from each other on the field. So, that's why I have the concerns why I'm not going to go tier 1. But again, tier 1 potential here.
Yeah. We've just never really seen that, right? Where like you're adding so many new faces to an offensive line and just asking them all to work together seamlessly. Like it is a risky thing for sure. So we will definitely see how it works out. And there is some risk with, Joe Thuney's not, young anymore. Could, is there risk there as well? I mean, there are some risks to this as well, but I mean, this team's pretty good. And I mean, this group, if you just took it on its face, this offensive line, I mean, it's a top 5 group. If your worst player on this group is probably Jonah Jackson, I think you're still doing something right, even if there is some risk. Yeah,
I agree. We can talk about the weapons. I think the weapons group is probably my biggest concern about this roster. So you have DeAndre Swift, who has had some good years with the Eagles. You have Roschon Johnson as a, I'm assuming he'll be the change of pace back for the Bears. It's not exactly striking fear into your hearts there, I don't think. Also for the receivers, I mean, what are we getting out of Rome Odunze, who did not show a lot, not show what we wanted to see him year one with the with the Bears. Granted, you got Ben Johnson, that can change things. DJ Moore has had some really good years, did not have a great connection with Caleb Williams the last year, especially on deep routes. Then you have Luther Burden III, who I think could be really good in a Ben Johnson scheme. I'm really excited to see what he can do. You do have, of course, Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet at the tight end position, which I think helps. So there's a lot of interesting pieces. I'm curious in how this is going to all work. I'm not crazy about the running back room. In fact, I'm just going to go tier 5 running back room. I know there's some talent, but again, every team has some talent in the running back room. I think I'm going to go tier 3 receiving room, but I don't know. It's a weird one, right? I mean, it's again, total projection here.
It is a total projection. DJ Moore did not have his best season. And even then, like, I think a lot of the analytics didn't love him as like a true number 1 option, even at his best. I think he's been a good number 1 option throughout his career, though. And I could see a bounce back season for sure. So you have him. I'm a big fan of Luther Burden. I mean, they went heavy on free agency with the offensive line. And then they went heavy in the draft on skill position. And I didn't hate the strategy, honestly. Luther Burden and Colston Loveland could be top end players at their positions sooner down the line than we think. I was a big fan of him in the draft. Loveland was a guy I was interested in the draft, even if I didn't have him as tight end 1 as he was taken. He kind of fits the mold of what you want from that Detroit tight end spot. So I understand why Chicago tight end spot with Ben Johnson in Detroit previously. So I understand why they went for him. So I see all that kind of working out potentially. I see Roma Dunze as a guy who could have a bounce back season, very similar to Caleb, where I thought the flashes, but not really the execution all the time. So overall, it's a very interesting group and another one where it's high ceiling, but right now the floor is lower than it should be.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts as well with that situation. For the defense now, as we move along with this team, we can go to the secondary, which has been a strength. Seemingly forever for the Chicago Bears. The secondary, in recent history, it hasn't been great every year, but obviously with Jalen Johnson as a shutdown corner, also Kyler Gordon as the nickel, not to be confused with Kyle Grondin. You also have Tyreek Stevenson, who not the best at playing Hail Marys, but also just not the best at playing as a fine corner, but not a. I think you would probably like an upgrade there. Also have some questions about depth with this corner room. What happens if there's an injury? We'll see. You do have Kevin Byard and Elijah Hicks, also Jonathan Owens for these safeties. And Jaquan Brisker. So you have good safeties here with this team. Would like a little bit of an upgrade at corner 2. Because of that, I'm going to go tier 2 coverage. But again, this should still be very good.
Yeah, it should be very good. Once Jalen Johnson's back as well, he's one of the best corners in the game. So you really like that secondary group. Like you said, it is a little thin, but that starting lineup's going to be very, very good and competitive. And even a guy like Tyreek Stevenson, he's had some good moments. Little inconsistent, like you said. You don't necessarily want him talking to the fans during the Hail Mary, but he has had good moments. So I like this group overall, and they also got terrific coverage linebackers, I think, too. So that also helps.
Yeah, TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds are those guys who can also play to run as well to just finish off this roster with the front 7. Montez Sweat's probably the biggest name as the edge rusher. They brought in Deo Ndagabo, who should be a fine player. I don't know if that's not the greatest 1-2 punch you'll ever see, but that's good. And again, Sweat's very good. Grady Jarrett, Andrew Billings, Jervin Dexter Jr. for the interior. So you can have pieces there. Again, we can talk about if all these contracts were the right contract and all that, but they did add pieces here that should help them be able to play better. So while I'm not crazy about really any of this, I think tier 3s across the board for run defense and pass rush feels fair.
Definitely feels fair. I think it's all pretty good. I mean, I think Grady Jarrett isn't quite peak Grady Jarrett, but I still think he's a pretty serviceable player. Montez Sweat has been good since he's come over in the trade, so I have no issue there. It's not like a superstar-laden group, but at the same time, this defense is built on its secondary, which is probably the right way, and it's not even like the front 7's really a weakness beyond that. I think it's just good. And if it's good and the secondary is great, there's going to be a great defense, and that's what they're going for.
Yeah, so as a whole, I saved my record predictions until this point, and I'm like, I don't know, like, how am I supposed to predict what this team is going to do? Like, how do you even go about trying to predict what the record is going to be?
If I said that, like, they could win 6 games or they could win, like, 11 games, would you be shocked by either scenario?
I think I'd be shocked if it's somewhere in the middle. I think, like, it just feels like those are the two options. So I guess I'm just going to pick, like, 8 and 9 for this team, and, like, I'll be wrong one way or the other.
Yeah, that feels kind of right. I agree with you there. But yeah, it feels like it's either going to work tremendously or, kind of fall on its face if these guys don't work out. But yeah, I mean, that's the gamble you take with young talent. I mean, there is young talent on this team. It has to translate to the field, though. So we'll see how it works out. But, the Bears fans should be excited. There's a lot of reason to be excited about this team. We just need to see guys like if Odunze, Williams, and Luther Burden hit, then this is probably going to be a team that realizes its full potential for sure, and could compete for championships in the future. If they don't, then all of a sudden you have a lot of questions in the offseason about how you're going to manage all that.
Sure, but I mean, again, like if Cam Ward hits, the Titans are going to be good. Every team's best case scenario is pretty good, and I think that's where it's weird because I think the Bears' best case scenario is better than your average team's best case scenario is, which is why they're exciting. But again, I mean, just looking through the roster, how many question marks is there? I mean, the receiving core, whole group, new group of guys, quarterback, totally unproven, great in college, wasn't great year one. Ben Johnson, never done it at the pro, as a head coach, although he's been awesome as a coordinator. This offensive line, fully new pieces. Even the defense has, like, Kevin Byard's new. Like, the defensive line has a bunch of new pieces. Like, this is such a Madden level team of, like, just adding pieces and hoping it works out. I feel like historically these teams underwhelm, but also like I don't think I can just jump into that and say that's going to happen, because again, I do think some of these pieces could be really good.
Yeah, it's just we're still trying to project what young players we were excited about, and we're still excited about those players, but like, there's a chance those guys are bad. Like, they were bad last season. They weren't good enough last season, and we're giving them all a pass. But what we could be saying by week 7, like, this is a total disaster. You got to take a quarterback next year. I mean, we were saying the same things about Bryce Young, and he turned it around and had a good end of the year. And that could be kind of the path this team goes on. But yeah, it's still far too much of a prediction at this point. And that's why I think it's right to put them 4th for now and just wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's fair as well. But yeah, it just goes to show the division as well that they are 4th. Yeah. Kyle, guess the how many people in the community notes poll predicted the Bears to win the division?
5%.
A little bit low, 7%. So you're right around there. They were 4th in the poll as well. 7%. I was expecting a little bit more, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't predict them, and maybe just because the division's tough, but like there is hype around them.
Yeah, I am going to be interested what these last 3 teams look like, because you could talk me into any of these 3 teams being pretty good next season.
Yeah, well, Kyle, talk me into which one you don't think will be at least top 2 in the division. Who is finishing 3rd in the NFC North according to your predictions?
Yeah, tough one. These were all playoff teams last year. I think they're all going to be playoff teams again this season, or at least close to it. I got the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers, I think, have some really good things. Josh Jacobs is a terrific running back. They have a good offensive line. They have some interesting skill players. Still some solid pieces on defense. And for my money, one of the best coaches in the league in Matt LaFleur. I think he continues to do awesome stuff year after year. I think the consistency issues at quarterback mean they don't really get enough of an edge over these 2 young players that they're going against with, obviously Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy in Minnesota. We want to see that consistency leap from Jordan Love, because I think that's holding this team back a little bit. And I think there's enough worry about things in the secondary. They got some good production from certain players. They, obviously, letting a guy like Jair Alexander go is headline worthy. He wasn't the best at times last season, but has that been addressed enough? How are those pieces going to step up into his place? I think those are all questions the Packers have to address before next season.
Yeah, let's start off as we always do with the head coach and quarterback. Matt LaFleur, we don't spend much time on him. He's very good. One of the better X's and O's guys in the league. Seemingly, has kind of finally figured out the defense stuff, which was an issue early on in his career. Tier 2 head coach with LaFleur, probably closer to tier 1 than tier 3. Jordan Love is an enigma. He is someone who, again, if you're a Packers fan, you can totally talk yourself into, well, no, year 1, it took him some time to figure it out. And then once he did, he was really good in the second half of the year. Year 2, he was banged up early on. Once he finally got healthy, he was really good again. Played bad against the Eagles, so did Patrick Mahomes, whatever. But also, like, we have seen him play good for half of his career and bad for half of his career. So, like, it's the thing where, like, the Baker Mayfield thing. In hindsight, it was obvious Baker Mayfield was just playing injured, and that's why he was struggling. But at the time, and then went to the Panthers, and they had no talent, and that's why he struggled. At the time, it was harder to predict that. I'm going tier 3 for Jordan Love. I still don't really know who he is.
Yeah. And it's the tier, it's not even like a consistent tier 3 is the issue. It's it's tier, high tier 2 one days, and then it's tier 4, tier 5 the other days. That's the problem. It's not actually like a tier 3 level performer. And yeah, so I think like the best versions of Jordan Love last season, the Packers played terrific games, but like, you could say like Malik Willis, not Malik Beasley, that's basketball. Malik Willis at times played better than him last season. Like, in fairness, in like the 8 passes he would throw. Yeah, but whether or not they put the training wheels on him or not, like
Mm-hmm.
you could argue like one of their best days of offensive games of the season was with Malik Willis at quarterback for a reason, because they wanted to run the ball a certain way, and they did. And Willis is, I mean, he played that game terrifically. Granted, it was Tennessee, so you take it with a grain of salt. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I still think like I'm not saying that they should start Malik Willis or anything like that, but it's just kind of pointing to the fact that like, another quarterback came into this offense and played just as well as Jordan Love did last season. And
A
Jordan
guy who
Love
was
is still
essentially
a frustrating.
I got the build off what you're saying. A guy who was essentially a cast off came into that situation, and the offense didn't like fall apart. It was able to still, be successful with that.
Yes, exactly. So I just think it's something you got to look at. Like, he has to round it into form because, yeah, I mean, you could point to the best games of Jordan Love and get really excited, but there are still too many of those games where it's like, man, I just don't think there's enough of those throws that you need to see.
Yeah. Let's talk about the weapons. With what could help out Jordan Love? First, running back room. Josh Jacobs continuing to do it at a high level. He's only 27. This guy feels like he should be 37. No, he's still in his late to mid 20s. And still one of the best running backs in the league. Emmanuel Wilson only had to play about 250 snaps last year. That's probably what they want again this year. Barring injuries, this should be a tier 1 running back room with how good Josh Jacobs is. The receivers, again, it's weird because they just have so many players who I like in their role, like Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Christian Watson, and then, of course, they draft Matthew Golden. The question is just, do they have a guy who on 3rd and 7 can man coverage, can get you separation and get a win there? And I don't know. So I'm going to go tier 2 receiving room. But yeah, I mean, this is a good weapon situation for Matt LaFleur to work with.
Yeah, a lot of names there on the receiving room. Like if Dontavian Wicks is your 5th receiver, you're doing something right.
Right.
So that is definitely something to like. Look, I think Christian Watson is someone I keep waiting on. And it just hasn't really worked out. Injuries do play a big part in it, but I also don't think he's quite reached his full potential. But yeah, I think that is still a pretty good group overall. I think Jaden Reed is someone I really just love watching more than his actual talent. Like, he's a good receiver, but he's just more enjoyable to watch too. He's just fun. He makes explosive plays, all that kind of stuff. They use him in a lot of creative ways in the red zone. And then you throw in him with Matthew Golden, who has a lot of the same characteristics. That could be a really interesting group with each other. Like, those two guys, I think, have a ton of speed, have a ton of shiftiness. And I think that could be a really interesting receiving room if those two really hit next season.
Yeah, and to make matters better for the Packers, they have a good offensive line too. I mean, Zach Tom has turned into a star tackle. Rasheed Walker is a good tackle across him. You have Sean Ryan and Aaron Banks, both good guards. They obviously went and brought Banks in. So there's Jordan Morgan, a 1st-round pick who only played 186 snaps. So I guess is now a backup in this situation. That's not a bad situation to have. Ellington Jenkins will probably return to center where he has been at his best. I think that there is some questions about, is this do you have more than one star, I guess is my question. But they have depth. They have 5 guys who can play. It's tier 2 offensive line for me.
Yeah, everything you said is right. Zach Tom's awesome. Everyone else is pretty good. And then, it's the big, we continue to say it with offensive line. No weak links goes a long way.
Yeah. So could you argue this is the best offensive line in the division?
No, I wouldn't go that far.
No. And I guess, is it a team we still have to talk about?
Yes, it's still a team we have to talk about.
Okay.
And I do think Chicago, I think Chicago has a higher ceiling too. But, yeah.
That's good offensive line play in this division. I'll say that.
Yeah, it is very good. I mean, even like Detroit took a downgrade, and they're still going to be pretty darn good on the offensive line too.
Yeah, I agree. The offense should be very good, and unlike the Bears, have a lot of cohesion. A lot of guys who have new pieces. A lot of guys who have played together for a couple years now. Let's get into the defense, and we can start off with the secondary, where you have Xavier McKinney, who they brought in, who was awesome last year at the safety position. You also have Evan Williams there. Then for the corners, it's Keeson Nixon, it's Nate Hobbs, Javon Bullard. Carrington Valentine. Again, they have depth here. It's very similar to the receiving room, actually, where it's like you're okay. I think my question is just when you go up against, Tampa Bay, when you go up against Philadelphia, when you have a guy who you have to put a guy on to cover, and can you do that one-on-one? I think that's my concern. So I'm going to go, again, I like this. I think depth matters when it comes to corners. I like this depth situation. I'm going to go tier 2 coverage, but I obviously can't go tier 1 because I think I don't know if they have a number 1.
That is kind of my worry too, especially in this division where you got to play Justin Jefferson twice and you got to play that Detroit offense twice with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, it's not like a foregone conclusion who's guarding who in those situations. Like, Nate Hobbs is a good nickelback, but like, how is he going to handle like an Amon-Ra St. Brown assignment? I still think is a big question mark. Xavier McKinney's awesome. I mean, he was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate last year, honestly.
Yeah.
So that's a really good group. But yeah, I do think there are some questions there. And like, Valentine had some good stuff last season. Can he hold up as a true number 1 corner against the best players in the division? I think that's a different question altogether.
Yeah. And as for front 7, again, the Packers are just a bit of a weird team. Edgerrin Cooper came in and was honestly really good last year when he came in and played. He was a guy I had a first-round grade on him coming out of college. Credit to me. Gotta give, every now and then one of my hot takes comes true. So I gotta shout out that one. Quay Walker, who I did not have a first-round grade on, despite him going in the first round. I am not a crazy Quay Walker fan. Seems like he does have a following. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but for the defensive line, Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, very good interior. Rashawn Gary, when healthy, is still great. Lucas Van Ness is a really interesting player because he's sort of built as this really good athlete. Will hopefully come in and start to play well. It's for 2 years he just hasn't shown what you would want there. You also have Kingsley Bear, who is in theory should be a pass rush specialist, but I don't love the depth here on the edge. You'd have Carl Brooks as an interior guy as well. So I think with a bit of lack of depth, and again, Kenny Clark with his injury history, I think again, like, I don't know, tier 3s, does that seem right?
That feels right.
Yeah.
You could even argue me a little lower on the pass rush just because it feels a lot like Rashawn Gary or bust at times.
They do get stuff interior wise though.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they have enough pieces there that it kind of works, but like it still doesn't feel awesome at times, but it's pretty good. So yeah, I love Gary, like you said, when he's healthy, he's very good. These linebackers, I mean, Quay Walker does have good moments. Like he's got to eliminate the nonsense. That's it. Like that's the only difference in his game. Like if he eliminates that, then he's going to be a pretty good linebacker, I think, in the league. And next to Cooper, it's going to work out. So you get excited about that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's just like it's can they get enough in the pass rush? Can they continue to get enough there? And then even like a guy like Kenny Clark is not very young anymore. Can he continue to hold up and be what he has been throughout his career?
Yeah, so it's weird. I mean, the Packers, again, they're a team that they have some nice things, but I still feel like I don't see the Packers as a real like top tier contender unless Jordan Love takes the next step. I still feel like 10-7 for the Packers, potentially a one and done playoff spot, or maybe win one game if you get to play the Cowboys in round 1 feels like what they're going to do.
That feels right. And I think that's the question about this entire division, right? Like it's like there's 4, I think, pretty good rosters here if you just look at the rosters on paper. But I think you're going to ask questions about all 4 of these quarterbacks, and in a way, all 4 of these teams as true Super Bowl contenders. They all kind of feel like they're maybe a tier below the very best teams in the NFC because of those questions at quarterback and because some questions on small questions on the roster that feel like they might hold them back.
Yeah. So interesting with this Green Bay Packers team. Interesting to see what they will do. Do you have any more thoughts on them, or do you want to just keep it moving?
I mean, we can keep it moving. I mean, it is interesting. Like, I think I think it feels like people are more safe with them than Minnesota because of the quarterback situation, even though I don't really view Jordan Love as a safe quarterback. I think we just kind of know that the highs are still there. Yeah. Win totals are essentially the same, and Chicago's right behind them. They're 1 win below. So it's not like they have a huge amount of separation between those 3 teams at the bottom. I think them and Minnesota were at 8.5, and then Detroit was at 10.5. So I think these two teams are pretty close here in the middle of this division race, and people are viewing Jordan Love as, the better option.
Yeah, which again, like, okay, and he's been very inconsistent. At least you do, like, out of 17 games, you would assume you'll get some positive games with him. So I guess I understand. Like, for all we know, JJ McCarthy's just gonna come in and stink, right? Like, you don't really.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if that happens with Jordan Love.
Yeah, that's true. He's not going to stink. He might stink a few games, but he's not going to stink over the whole year.
Guess the let's do the guess the poll number. I gotta come up with a better. We need somebody to call this segment, Kyle.
Yeah. We'll brainstorm that.
Yeah. Anyone in the chat, come up with your theories as to what we could, or ideas for what we can call this. But guess what percentage of people predicted the Packers to win the NFC North?
I think they're going to be second highest in this one, and I'm going to go 21%.
Well, almost nailed it, Kyle. You're correct, but second highest. They're 19%. So you have your finger on the pulse of the community.
I'm right there with you guys. I mean, I understood it. I kind of figured, like I said, I think it's more teams are picking them to finish above Minnesota, and potentially battle Detroit the most. But I think there's definitely a case for it. So, but yeah, I have my opinion too. It's okay.
Yes, but I'm a little surprised too, because as someone even brings up in the chat of, like, to kind of have the or as someone says, the lowest floor and ceiling. I was just thinking they kind of have a higher floor, but I'm not sure about their ceiling compared to maybe these other two teams. Is maybe part of why I would be more likely to potentially say one of the other two would win the NFC North. Kyle, the Lions and Vikings played each other the final game of the regular season to determine who would get the 1 seed and who would have to go on the road to play the Rams. Obviously, the Lions won that. The Vikings ended up losing in round 1. Lions didn't fare much better in their first playoff game. But who do you think will finish second this year in the NFC North? Is it the Lions or is it the Vikings?
It's the Minnesota Vikings. I can't get too bold.
Yeah,
I really love this team, though. I love this roster. I think they're really talented. I don't think there's a lot of weaknesses on this team across any position group, maybe besides quarterback, because it is a young quarterback that we haven't seen play. Besides that, though, I mean, this may be the best roster in the league. I've continued to say it throughout this offseason. I continue to believe that this is a strong roster. I think they're going to handle almost anybody, and I'm excited to see it. Yeah, it all comes down to JJ McCarthy. I agree. And if JJ McCarthy if he can reach part of his potential, then yeah, this team's going to be a Super Bowl contender. But even I think he can come in and game manage this situation. I think he did that a lot at Michigan at times too when he was young, and that's going to be what this team is. Because I look at this roster, I look at the talent on the team across the offensive line, the receivers, the running back, all that kind of stuff, and I just think, man, I think he could be Sam Darnold last season. I don't think that Sam Darnold thing from last season had to do with Sam Darnold having a Geno Smith kind of turnaround to his career. I think it had to do with this team with Kevin O'Connell as the head coach, who's one of the most underrated coaches in the league, with this receiving room, making it very easy on him. And I think that's what's going to happen with JJ McCarthy on this team too.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin O'Connell, I have him as tier 2 head coach, and Kyle, you could talk me into tier 1. I mean, especially when you factor in the staff as a whole, because we're big Brian Flores guys, mostly with his X's and O's, maybe not necessarily his handling of quarterbacks, but hey, he's a defensive coordinator now. Don't have to worry about that. I have tier 4 quarterback, but again, who knows with rookie quarterbacks? That could be tier 1, that could be tier 5. If that's tier 1, look out. But I mean, again, the Vikings are an analytically inclined team. They're thinking, hey, we'd rather have a young quarterback who can, potentially give us 3 years of a championship window if he can just play all, good. And then, you can have a Brock Purdy like trip. They didn't win the Super Bowl, but they got there. Right, Russell Wilson won the Super Bowl and got back on his rookie deal. Jared Goff made the Super Bowl on his rookie deal. Like, that's Jalen Hurts winning a Super Bowl on the first year of his contract, which was essentially rookie deal money because it's the first year of a backloaded contract, and obviously he made it before as well on the rookie deal. That's the logic here. But again, the upside makes sense. The downside is, well, what if you have a Zach Wilson? You're not getting anywhere close to that.
Yeah, you're not getting anywhere close to that. But I just continue to say they're putting him in a situation that just feels so safe. I don't know if we've seen a young quarterback really enter a situation this promising. Like, they're just not going to let him go full Zach Wilson in this situation, right? They're going to figure something else out if they have to, if it looks that bad. Because like, it not everybody would succeed in this situation, but like players with talent, I think can just handle, finding ways to get the ball to Justin Jefferson or Aaron Jones or Jordan Addison or TJ Hawkinson and being protected by this offensive line. McCarthy also has good athleticism. I think there's just a lot of reasons to be really excited with him on this roster. And yeah, I mean, if he reaches a tier 2 category in his first season as a starter, then I mean, I would say this team's making the Super Bowl if he's that good right away.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't succeed in this offense. I don't think.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I don't think I would either.
Yeah, so maybe not everyone, but like you said, anyone with talent. That's the clarification. They have Sam Howell's the backup. So it's McCarthy's year for sure. But Kyle, you brought up the offensive line. We can talk about that. Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw at tackles. That's pretty good. You'll take that. They also, similar to the Bears, have 3 new offensive linemen. Although interestingly, these are guys who have played together before. Ryan Kelly and Will Fries, both from the Colts. So they both do have that chemistry. You're also, they drafted Donovan Jackson. So again, I think this is the fact that you do have guys who are, coming off of injuries. You have guys who are playing on new teams, and you have a rookie who I wasn't crazy about, Donovan Jackson. I get why they wanted to add him though, to fill up that, help out the young quarterback, get the logic behind it. But again, in late first round picks in this past draft just weren't as valuable as they usually are. I'm going to go tier 2 once again. But like I said earlier, this is a really good just division of offensive line play.
Yeah. If Donovan Jackson is, because I mean, Freeze when he last played was really good. Ryan Kelly's really good. Darrisaw and O'Neill are really good. So basically, if Donovan Jackson's just passable, like this is tier 1 and debatably number 1, right? Like, that's basically what they need, because they have 4 really good players on this group overall. And yeah, it's the weak link thing, so I understand it, but at the same time, like, he just has to survive at that position, it feels like.
The other factor, literally everyone else on this offensive line besides the rookie is coming off of an injury.
That is true. Yes, they've all dealt with it. But yeah, I mean, when all those guys have played, they're really good. So yeah, if they can all stay healthy and Donovan Jackson survives, then yeah, this could be the best offensive line in the league potentially.
Kyle, if this receiving core just had Justin Jefferson, it'd be a fringe tier 1 already. And that's not all they have. You got Jordan Addison, you got TJ Hawkinson, Jalen Naylor, who has, he shows up and makes some plays from time to time. Is there depth too far down the lineup? Maybe not, but who cares? Again, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. This is tier 1. Yeah,
tier 1. Those 3 options at the top are really good, and then yeah, you got Jalen Naylor. They have every J name, and we're getting them all mixed up now.
Yes.
So yeah,
and even their running backs, Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. We'll talk about them in a second, but too many J's.
Yeah, and I mean, even a guy like Aaron Jones though can catch the ball out of the backfield. He does that really well. So you have plenty of passing options here, and that's what you're most excited about for JJ McCarthy, is that like. He has so many weapons to throw to in this offense, and I mean, all of them are pretty good.
Yeah, brought the running backs tier 2 as well. Aaron Jones was really good last year, and I think and Jordan Mason was good. Granted, in a scheme that everyone's usually good in, but still, have guys who should be able to play. So. Some concern with the offensive line, but no major concerns with the offensive line, and so much talent. Like we're saying, this is a great situation for a young quarterback to jump into, especially with a good offensive-minded head coach.
Yeah. O'Connell's going to make this work, and I think that they obviously identified what their weakness was at the end of the season. This team kind of fell apart in the offensive line. They needed to rebuild that interior, and that's what they went and did this offseason, which is what you have the luxury of doing when you have a young quarterback. Is you can spend elsewhere. And they had debatably one of the best rosters outside quarterback last season, and they made it even better this offseason with those guys on the offensive line.
Kyle, I have an underrated concern with this Vikings team. I thought Stephon Gilmore was really good for them last year. Like I feel,
Mhm.
he's now gone, and I do feel like there is some question marks at corner. And everyone says, "Well, Flores is going to make it work." Again, Flores made it work with good corners last year, in my opinion. You still have Brian Murphy Jr. You have Isaiah Rogers, coming off of his Super Bowl championship, where he actually made a really good play in that Super Bowl. Granted, a lot of Eagles make good plays in that Super Bowl, but still, Josh Metellus, Harrison Smith for the safeties. Yes, Harrison Smith is still playing football. I do like. Are we really doing Jeff Okudah? Is that we're not? We can't. He's not going to be. Is he starting? What's happening here, Kyle?
Well, I'm assuming the hope is that Mekhi Blackman's going to play because he was someone who in 2023, I think I had the number here. Oh yeah, 400 snaps in 2023. He was third among rookie cornerbacks with the PFF coverage grade of 71.7, and he did not miss a tackle. I think that's the number one. That's the number two corner thought. They thought they didn't need to bring back Gilmore because Mekhi Blackman is coming back into this situation, and that's what they're hoping for. If he's healthy and ready to go, I'm pretty interested in that, but also it's, we had a 400 snap sample size of him being a good player. So it is a bit of a risk, but he's shown that he could be a good football player.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. That's what I'm hoping that's what they're thinking and not the Okudah route. Listen, Okudah is a fine depth piece. He shouldn't have, he hasn't lived up to number 3 overall billing, whatever. He's not the worst corner in the world, just not someone you want as a starter. But yeah, I mean, okay, a 3rd round pick who played well in 400 snaps, not even the most recent season, is still not something I'm too excited about here. And again, injuries happen, right? Even Isaiah Rogers, I'm not thrilled about him. Like, I'm not like, oh, sure, he can go in and just play significant playing time. He was at his best being like the 4th or 5th corner on a really good defense. Like, I'm not thrilled about that situation. They got some good pieces here. I'm going to go tier 3. And you could talk me into this being a lot lower because of, the depth issues. But again, even though I started this by saying Flores can't do everything, he can still do a lot. And he can still help out this situation as well. And I do trust him. But I would like more depth here. Flores usually, I still think he was at his best with the Patriots, with Bill Belichick getting like 9 corners who can all play and like being able to mix and match that way. I don't really see that personnel this time.
It's still a bit of a question mark, and it's the biggest question mark with this team, but he is going to find a way, I think, to boost it overall. And, if they're able to, the way they create pressure and use their blitz schemes and all that kind of stuff, it makes it a little bit easier on the secondary. So that's probably the hope you have. But we're going to see how it looks week 1. And I think that they have enough talent here that you're like kind of interested, but at the same time, it's still a lot of unknown. And this is the biggest unknown left in this roster for sure.
Yeah. And to be honest, I'm in between tier 4 and tier 3. I'll keep it tier 3 also just because Eric Wilson, Blake Cashman, that's a good linebacker duo. At least it should be a good linebacker duo for them. The defensive line, you have Jonathan Allen and Harrison Phillips as interior guys who can, we'll see. Again, I would like a little more depth here, I think, in this interior. The edge rush stuff, though, I mean, Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner as a 3rd option. I'm interested in seeing what he can do. That's really good. So yeah, I think, I don't know. I thought Grenard and Van Ginkel were awesome in this game last year. I'm just going to give it tier 1 pass rush. I think tier 4 run defense. I'm just, there's parts of it. I want more depth here.
You'd like a little bit more depth, but at the same time, they have depth at pass rush for day, especially if Dallas Turner works out. I mean, getting him back in this mix too. You have Cashman, like you said, Eric Wilson, Ivan Pace too is a good linebacker. Like there is some depth there at that position. So they have options at pass rush. They have options at linebacker, and that's ultimately why I think it's going to work out. Like I think the numbers on it is this team is going to overperform its expectations defensively or its roster defensively because that they have the defensive coordinator and the scheme to do it. And we saw it happen last season. And could that change? Defense can be fluky sometimes. Yes. But I think with this personnel and this coaching staff, I am willing to trust it. And I think it's going to be a very good defense.
And that I completely agree with. Again, I'm simply just evaluating the personnel. And while I think there are some issues personnel wise, I agree. I think this is gonna overperform any potential issues that I have. I also mentioned they have Javon Hargrave too, which again, we'll see what we get out of Javon Hargrave, but like that's worth mentioning. So this is, I don't know. This is again, a team that its ceiling is, I feel like this is the team of sky high ceiling like the Bears, but unlike the Bears, they have things that I know are going to be good. The receiving core is going to be good. The offensive line is probably going to be at the very least solid, if not good. Running back's going to be good, and I think the defense will still be effective. Like, this is a very good team, Kyle.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this team. I haven't done my end of season predictions, but I would not be shocked if I'm picking this team to make the Super Bowl, even with JJ McCarthy. I just think the roster is so talented, and you can't go wrong with a talented roster. So I'm a big fan of this Vikings team, and like you said, I think the potential is the ceiling of this team to me is higher than any other team in the NFC.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go 10-7 again for the Vikings. I'm going to put them ahead of the Packers, though, in my power rankings, even though I have them with the same win totals. But I also think that they, again, similar to the Bears, I could see them massively exceeding where I'm picking them to go.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are kind of thinking that too. So it just kind of depends on what we see from JJ McCarthy week 1 and what he looks like.
Yeah. Okay, Kyle. So far we are in lockstep with these predictions. The Detroit Lions, reigning 1 seed 2 years ago, they made it to the conference championship and were very close to making it all the way to the Super Bowl against a team that they did beat in the regular season. The great doubt team with the Kansas City Chiefs, who have a history of playing better in the big moments, but still, the Lions were very good last year. They were my Super Bowl prediction team last year. Injuries was a huge part of their failure. It was not the only part of their failure, but it was a huge part of it. Kyle, why do you still have the Lions finishing first this year?
I still think this roster is very good. I think you could definitely ask the question of, did this team miss its window? Was last season its window? I think there are concerns about that. Obviously, the much talked about thing of replacing both of your coordinators is the first and foremost thing. As much as we like Dan Campbell, we will continue to buy the Dan Campbell stock. We know he's not the pure X's and O's guy. Can he continue to hire good staff? That is going to make this team work or not. I think that's going to be the question for this team. Can he do that? And then, there's a lot of changes to this team still. You look at this offensive line, the interior offensive line was debatably they have great tackles, but they also debatably had one of the best interior offensive lines in the league. And that all changes all of a sudden. You still have a lot of pieces there. You lose another starting, number 1 corner, even though you bring in DJ Reed you really like. How's that all going to look? I think there's still a lot of changes there. And that's where you have a little bit more concerns, but you look top to bottom, this roster is still really, really skilled, and you get really excited about that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what's interesting is we're going to learn a lot about Dan Campbell and Jared Goff, right? I mean, again, the two people at the core of this, and it's interesting how they have question marks in the other way, where Caleb Williams, the question mark is, well, he hasn't played well, but look at what he's been around. Like, is it fair to blame him? For Dan Campbell and Jared Goff, it's, well, they have done well, but is it fair to, but the question is it because of what's around them? For Campbell, did he just hire good coordinators, and can he consistently do that? Or was he just lucky to get the right coordinators on his first try? Which I think, granted, we know that he's still good, and we know Jared Goff is still good. But again, for Goff, he's been in a great situation and succeeded. He's been in not so great situations and not succeeded. Can he succeed with a situation getting a little bit worse here? Can Campbell succeed having to hire new coordinators? We're going to learn a lot about those two guys this year.
Yeah. And, Jared Goff has not had a guy who's changed a lot of situations in his career. Obviously, he started with Jeff Fisher. He was with Sean McVay a long time after that, though, and then came here and had a pretty stable situation for the few years he was here as well. So how he adjusts is going to be a big thing. I still think a lot of the core and what they're going to do is going to be very similar. But still, you can't replicate, even if you're to hire an internal guy and keep the offense exactly the same, you can't replicate just an offensive coordinator who seems to have it. Even the best play designers and play schemes still require the offensive coordinator to call the plays at the right time. And can their new staff handle those same situations is going to be the big question. And Goff has to continue to execute. He made a leap in my mind last season, not quite to the elite level of quarterbacks, but to a very, very a better version of Jared Goff last season as far as handling pressure and throwing under pressure, something that was his biggest weakness. I think he did better at it last season, even if it wasn't phenomenal all the time, because no quarterback under pressure is phenomenal all the time.
Sure.
he was better at it last season than he was ever before. So I think he's continuing to get better and run this offense. He ran this offense almost to perfection at times. If you go back and look at some of those box scores. So can he continue to do that? We're going to see.
Yeah, I have Detroit fan man saying love the Goff slander here at JKS. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not afraid to give my Jared Goff take, which is I think Jared Goff is among the best game managers in football, and I don't mean that as I'm just speaking of when you're managing the game of football. I think he is elite at that, and I think he does a lot of really good things there. I don't think he's at his best when a play breaks down. And I think that he has struggled over the course of his career, and you've seen him in big playoff moments when plays have broken down, struggled, obviously most notably the Super Bowl, but even last year, he turned the ball over too much in that. And I do think Goff, he will give you 2 or 3 just horrible games a year. And I don't know why he does that, but it just seems like for 15 out of the 17 games, he'll be really good, and he'll give you 2 just absolute duds. That's my take on Jared Goff, which is I think he's a tier 3, close to tier 2 quarterback is how I've viewed Jared Goff. And if this is the bad situation and he's able to still put up elite numbers, okay, I'm wrong. Like this is a year for him to prove me wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair. I think it is true. Like, I still think that, like, off script, he has struggles. Under pressure, he still has struggles. But there's still moments where you look at Jared Goff and, like, you can go back to that Jacksonville game last season and that Seattle game where, even in this scheme with this talent, with that offensive line, with that play caller, all that kind of stuff, there are still not a lot of quarterbacks who are going to go into games against NFL defenses and go 18-18 for 292 yards, Like,
yeah, right. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
the good Jared Goff days are also ridiculous in the other way. Like, that is fair to say. Yeah. He does have those occasional games where he looks like prime Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, he is justifiably a number 1 pick for a reason. The arm talent, the skill, all of that stuff's there for a reason. And you see it on its best days. And when everything's clicking, Jared Goff's going to execute it. But they need Jared Goff to also execute when things aren't clicking. And that's what makes good quarterbacks great. And that's why he's a good quarterback and not a great quarterback.
Yeah. Again, my pushback tends to be I don't put him up. I don't think that he is someone who can be the whole core of the offense. The good news is for the Lions fans, who cares? Because he doesn't have to be the whole offense with this team, because they have plenty of other good offensive pieces. And like with this receiving core, like again, we talk about Ben Johnson leaving. And again, I think we'll see how the new coordinator does, but they have plenty of weapons, even if you just have an okay coordinator. With Sam Laporta at the tight end position, Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the elite receivers in football, just straight up. Who cares? He plays slot. He's fantastic. Jameson Williams gives you a lot. They drafted Isaac Tesla. We'll see what he can do. Kaif Raymond, Tim Patrick, like a lot of depth here as well. This is really good weapons group, and not to mention, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery as the 1-2 combo, which also give tier 1 running back room for because they have 2 really good guys who also complement each other really well, and then tier 2 receiving room.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue Amon-Ra and Tim Patrick alone should be tier 1.
Well, you would argue Tim Patrick alone should be tier 1.
Yeah. And then with Jameson Williams and Sam Laporta, I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, look at that group overall. I mean, it's really good. It's really good. Amon-Ra St. Brown is awesome. Huge fan of his as well. He just always finds ways to get open, and they use him in this offense so well. Very shifty player, very talented. You look at him, you look at Jahmyr Gibbs, who's awesome too. We continue to say he is very good. He's been the best running back in that class. And even though Bijan Robinson is equally really good, he's been awesome. And even in a part-time role with David Montgomery taking a lot of carries, he maximizes his situation there. So yeah, you look at this team, there's 5 or 6 really talented, dangerous players on any given snap.
Yeah. It's really good stuff. Kyle, historically, Goff has had a lot of time to find the open guy, and again, done a lot of good stuff with it. Here, he might not have that time, and this is just a concern. Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell, okay, that's still an awesome tackle tandem, maybe the best tackle tandem in football, but the interiors, you have questions here. With Graham Glasgow, kind of the one guy who's stayed, and he, whether he'll play center or guard, is someone who is not a star player. He's kind of the weak link on a loaded offensive line, so no disrespect, but that's just kind of where he's been at. Looks like you're going to have Christian Mahogany play the guard who, in 144 snaps, he played well, but the PFF grade is great. I went back and watched those snaps, though. There definitely was a lot of getting to play against, next to good offensive linemen helping him out type of stuff. Obviously, the Frank Ragnow surprise retirement, I think, hurts them. Tate Ratledge as a second round pick, a late second round pick. I'm not expecting a ton from him. Year one, maybe I'll be surprised, but as a whole, I just don't love this interior at all. The tackles are so good. I can't go below tier 3, but I'm going tier 3 offensive line because I just don't like this interior at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of questions. Obviously, Glasgow moving into center, that's going to be tough as it is. If that was only the move they had this offseason and they kept Zeitler and they brought in a new guard, that's still a risk, right? But the fact is that you're looking at a 2024 sixth round offensive guard at left guard. You're looking at a player in Glasgow who's moving to a new position who, is a fine player but wasn't the best player on this team, like you said. And then Tate Ratledge, I mean, look, there's going to be some moments of Tate Ratledge on tape that look awesome at his time at Georgia, but he was a guy who struggled with consistency issues. And I mean, it wasn't a great offensive guard draft. It wasn't a great interior offensive line draft. And some guys were taken early in round 1. And I kind of thought he was a reach in round 2 because they kind of got desperate, because some of those offensive guards earlier left. So were taken. So I think it's a bit of risk at him in round 2. I don't think it's a clear-cut solution. So those are going to be big risks, I think, overall. And yeah, I think the Lions are going to have some issues, and it's a big question mark for sure.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And it's not just will the Lions be able to be effective there, because they'll be effective enough. But again, last year, that was essentially the strength of their team, was how good their offensive line is, how expected they were at running the ball. That the whole Dan Campbell thing, they'll run it on 4th and 5, and then obviously it helps you in play action, helps you in passing. If that's just not as good, that could hurt more than maybe a team that's more used to dealing with not having that great offensive line.
Yeah. I mean, it's 100%. That could change everything because this team was built on a really good offensive line. Great play calling receivers too, but that was the strength of this team by far.
Yeah. Kyle, let's talk about the secondary, which was at times effective last year until essentially everyone got injured, and then they had to try and make stuff work. Aaron Glenn essentially reworked the whole scheme to try and make things happen and did an okay job, but ultimately there was not much he could do once he got to Washington. Once he got to playing Washington. The new faces here, you still have Taron Arnold. We'll see if he can take I thought he did show flashes last year, but also way too many penalties, and ultimately just was not what they wanted out of him, who was a kind of a big name prospect when they drafted him. They did bring in DJ Reed, coming off of a great year from the Jets. Again, always a question mark when a corner changes teams, but he should be effective. Avonte Maddox as well. Amik Robinson. It's good depth there. I do like the depth of this corner room. Brian Branch, who kind of plays safety / corner. You also have Kirby Joseph. If you want to count Branch as just a pure safety, that's a great safety tandem. Not really sure who else will come in and play safety if they need someone to. Maybe it's Dan Jackson, the 7th round pick. But yeah, this is a good coverage unit. I think if Taron Arnold takes the next step, it could be a great coverage unit. But and again, there's the DJ Reed question. But you also have Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone, who are very good coverage linebackers. So I'll go tier 2 coverage for this team.
I think it's fair. I think there was enough out of Arnold last season for fans to get excited still. I think he showed enough flashes. There was obviously the consistency stuff and the penalties that have to be better. But I think early in the season, especially when Carlton Davis was healthy, he obviously was the targeted player in this secondary because they have good players at other positions. And I think more or less he had some ups and downs with it. But I do think that there were some moments he really stepped up and played well. If he finds that consistency stroke, I think he's going to be a really good player. You look at him and DJ Reed, and that could be a really good corner duo. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. So there's definitely potential for this to be a tier 1, but I still think there's enough questions there for this to be held back just a little bit.
Yeah. Unfortunately for the Lions, they already had another injury. Levi Onwuzurike will not play in this season, which stinks for the defensive line. They do have Aleem McNeil getting back from injury, DJ Reader. You have Roy Lopez as well in the interior for the edge. Aiden Hutchinson, that's the huge thing, who should be back and playing well. Would still like another edge rusher here. You have Quidin Muhammad, Josh Pascal. Would like some more pass rush off the edge, but again, they have a lot of players. Like I said, good linebackers, tier 2 run defense. I'll still go tier 2 pass rush. Why not? Hutchinson's that good.
Hutchinson is that good. He is a defensive player of the year candidate when he's on the field. He might have won defensive player of the year until he got hurt, honestly, last season. So yeah, I really like that. I like getting DJ Reader in here, but I mean, like, they have to survive the first few months until Lee McNeil comes back. He's still dealing with that injury, so he's not going to be ready to start the season. So they have some questions there for sure. And then, like, yeah, that second pass rusher spot, like, I mean, we haven't seen Marcus Davenport good since 2021, and even then, that was kind of a one-off year as it is. So you have questions about that other edge rusher spot, and then I just don't know if they've got enough depth for it, for sure.
Yeah. I think my questions about the Lions losing both their coordinators is going to hurt them a little bit when I give my final prediction, and just the offensive line questions. But I still just feel like there's so much talent here. I still do like Dan Campbell as a head coach. I think he does enough well, and I think he'll hire well. I'm going to go 12-5 for the Detroit Lions. I think they'll take maybe a slight step back here, but I could also still, again, I could see this team winning the Super Bowl. I don't think that the window's over.
It's not over for sure. Is it a little slightly less ajar, maybe? But it's not closed. The window's still open, but it's definitely, they have to prove it to us again because there are so many changes with this team. So I'm still excited about this team. I still think it's talented. I still think they can win games in the NFC. But I think they're very much a clear cut below Philadelphia right now, after some of those changes. And I think there's a few other teams that I think could step up into their place too. So they may not even be my number 2 team in the NFC right now.
Gotcha. Well, that'll be interesting to see what happens the rest of the way. Again, we will be talking about next month or so. We will cover every other division. Kyle, before we get out of here, I just want to do the poll. I forgot to ask you about the Vikings, but let's just go to the Lions. What percent do you think predicted the Lions to win the division?
All right, so we had 7% for the Bears and 19% for the Packers, if I remember correctly, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so that is, off the top of my head, that is 26%. So I'm going to guess the Vikings were somewhere like 13-14%. So that would put us around 26.
I'll save you the math. But you actually 39. Wait, no. 13% is
13. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, for them total, yes. I thought you were talking about leftover.
No.
The Vikings are at 13%, Lions 61%. So yeah, Lions only the second lowest division leader we have currently. The Chiefs are weirdly the lowest, so that it's kind of funny. But still, again, so far every single prediction we've had, the reigning division champ has been at the top once again.
Yeah. And that's the thing that we have to remember too. Like, we can make all these predictions. We do all this stuff year after year. And you know what? 3 or 4 playoff teams total are going to change, right? There are going to be new faces in there for sure. That's what that's what makes the NFL so amazing is, with the 17 game sample size compared to other sport and all that kind of stuff, things will change. So we try and predict this as best we can. We see a lot of this again and again, but anything can happen. I mean, this division could be reversed. You could say, sure, oh yeah, it's going to be Bears, Vikings, or it's going to be Bears, Packers, Vikings, Lions. And I wouldn't be like, wow, that's unbelievable. I'd be a little surprised for sure. Yeah. But like, all of these teams are pretty good.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Also, Kyle, I realized earlier today that I went in a weird order with picking the NFC North as the first one because we want to end on the NFC South, but I should have started with the NFC East to make that happen. So let's do the NFC East coming up this Monday. Let's talk about the reigning champs, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the team trying to dethrone them there. Kyle, let them know where they can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Grondin, and make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
And of course, if you like audio only podcasts, you can search On the Sideline Podcast anywhere you get your podcast. That should be available there. But yeah, Kyle, that's our show. We will be again back Monday. Any final thoughts? I think we're good. I think we're ready to get out of here, right?
Yeah. Let's get out of here. Fun show, and then looking forward to next week again.
Yes. So we'll be on the lookout for that. Thank you all for watching or listening. We appreciate that. And until next time, have a good one.
Peace.